In the right way for the guidance of humanity, and this is why we have called it Guide US or Guide Us, doesn't matter which one.
It's long overdue to have an Islamic channel here. We are in more desperate to help the non-Muslims understand Islam.
The Muslims definitely need a TV channel in America, definitely. Who's speaking for us? Who's speaking for the Muslims?
What is missing in American media is the other side of the story. We only get one side, and we're often misleaded to think poorly of our fellow Muslims, and they tend to turn us against each other. What we need is the other side of the story and an objective point of view.
Muslims are in desperate need of our own media outlets. People having a field day describing what Islam is and who the Muslims are. Every time we turn on Fox News, they're telling us what is Islam all about. No, we need some authentic sources and voices out there.
There's so many people that don't know the truth about Islam, and it's because we see so much negativity online. If it wasn't for Yusuf Estes and for my neighbor showing me the truth of Islam, I would be lost.
Growing up in America, often the feeling we had was our story was never being told. And then after September 11th, not only was Islam being mentioned.
And coming to you almost live from somewhere in the depths of California, we know not where. I hear him laughing. I think you hear him laughing too.
Salam alaikum, sister, and welcome to everybody to our program tonight, coming to you almost live, like sister said, from somewhere in California. And alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, hu alladhi ja'alna muslimin. That means the praise is to the one almighty God, and we thank him so much for making us as servants to him. And our program tonight is going to be about what we understand about what we know. Okay? And to put it real simple, how can we be sure? All right. So let's start out with Sister Kim. Sister Kim, have you ever wondered about things?
Oh, yes. I wonder about things on a daily basis.
All right. So when you're wondering about things, do you ever get to a point where you feel like I can't go any further? I can't think about it because it's just, I don't know where to turn. I don't know where to get the evidence that I need or the proof that I need to go forward with this thing. I'm asking questions to myself day and night, and I'm just not getting the answers out. Have you ever felt like
yes. I don't feel that way quite as much with the internet, but I sure felt that way a lot as a child. There are still times that I find it very frustrating. You know, one of the things that we have to be careful about here on TV is that whatever we say, we have to have evidence for it. We can't just make up a story and tell you guys whatever the heck we feel like it. We've got to have the evidence for it. And if somebody's ready to call us out on it, we have to say, this is my source. And it gets really frustrating, especially if I'm looking for something for the show and I can't find a source for it. I just hear hearsay. So, yeah, I get to that point where I'm wondering about something and, yeah, it ends up coming up to a dead end, and it gets very frustrating.
Have you heard about something called Kuro, or something like that?
No, I don't think I've heard that word before.
Well, let me see if I can pull that up so other people can get an idea what it's all about. Quro, something like that. It's Qura, something like that. Yeah. That's. Let me see if we can pull up some kind of vision for that. Images, possibility. Here we go. Yeah, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to pull up something that would kind of give us an idea about what we're talking about tonight. And this says possibilities, possibility, possibility, possibility. There are all kinds of possibilities, but there's a principal set of philosophical ideas and life lessons that are combined and compressed together to provide a general guideline so we can, in order to achieve a special objective. And now that's from Dr. Lucas D. Shalua. There you go. And as you can tell, I even have trouble pronouncing the words, much less trying to understand what's already going on. And that is a very serious subject for us. I want to know what is happening. I want to know what's really going on in the world. Because, and by the way, as it pertains to me, because I really don't care about what's going on the other side of the world until I get what's right in front of me gathered up first. Because how could I help somebody else if I can't even help myself? Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Although we have to keep a worldwide view, you can't keep a worldwide view if you're not taking care of yourself first.
Well, yeah, that's very true. That's very true. I want to have a worldwide view of what's going on because in the position, whenever people trust you to give them information, you have to be able to verify where you got it from. Now, this is especially true in Islam because nobody in their right mind as a Muslim should accept anything from the scholars of Islam if they can't prove it. If I said, well, Islam says, for instance, plucking your hair, the eyebrows, you know, and if I say totally haram, or if I say it's absolutely okay, either way you go, you're going to have opposition. So you need to be able to prove it. And in Islam, how do we prove everything? Do you know that one, sister?
I believe the word is isnad. Am I right?
Isnad. Well, let's look up on Sheikh Google and see if we can find an answer for everybody on this kind of subject. Right now, I've got a problem trying to move the zoom out of the way of the OBS. Here we go. Now, images. Now, what is isnad? There we go. Now I want to put that up so everybody can see that and get an idea of what we're talking about. There's a system in Islam, and it is called the isnad, and that's the system for doing what? And let me see if I can put it up here so that everybody can see it. And it doesn't look like it's going to help me at all with that. Yeah. And the isnad is the source of everything in Islam, the isnad. Isnad actually means how can you trace it back to see where this actually came from and verify it. That's what the meaning behind it is. Isnad is how you trace something back to the source and you can find out really what did it say. Now, in this case, we will be talking about the Quran and the Hadith. The Quran we can trace back pretty easy because there are millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people who have memorized the entire Quran exactly in the Arabic language, and 90% of those people are not Arabs. So if you said, well, that looks like it would weaken your position. No, it strengthens the position because they're all exactly alike. So we can go and find out. Now, if you know the Arabic language, then it's very simple because you have hundreds of millions of sources and they're all identical. That's the only work of its kind on this planet. There is nothing else even close to the Quran. There are ancient books, no doubt, and some of them we can even verify where they came from. Something that's 1,000 years old that we know for sure was the penmanship of so and so, and that's true. But when you start getting further back and into some of the areas of literature and so on, you'll be surprised that some of the works of Shakespeare are not actually from his pen. No, that's true. Some of the things that we attribute to Shakespeare are not really from him himself, and especially some of the presentations that were made about the particular stories or thesis that he had on different things. Okay, now what about the Iliad and the Odyssey? That's attributed to somebody called Homer. Now that's a couple thousand years ago. So what do we find out about that? Well, again, we find out that most likely that's not Homer himself that wrote all this stuff, but his students or students of his students. It's still attributed to him because of his teachings and so on. But how many people even know that? Now, hundreds and hundreds of millions of people have memorized the entire Quran or parts of the Quran, major parts like over half, and many others like 1.9, actually 2 billion now. 2 billion people on this earth have memorized parts of the Quran. Maybe small parts, but they still memorized it. And it is, again, exactly the same. So there's no other work on the planet like the Quran. Now, these things that I just said, sister, is this all familiar to you?
Yes, this is all familiar to me, and it was one of the things that absolutely amazed me when I first started studying Islam. I knew that people memorized the Quran, but I always thought before I became a Muslim that it was limited to scholars, and so it might be limited to a few thousand people or something like that. But when I learned how many had actually memorized the full Quran, it was mind-blowing. When you think of the numbers, hundreds and hundreds of millions of people, it's mind-boggling.
That's true, it is. I would like to remind a lot of the Muslims who already know about this, but they take it for granted. And I would like to remind them that the converts to Islam who are observing this for the very first time, oftentimes we look at it and we say, how can that be? That's mind-boggling. Just like Sister said, it's really that's a trip, man. So how am I supposed to be able to understand that? And again, we use what's called the isnad. Right, sister?
Right.
All right. Now, let's take a chance to go a little bit further into this and just see a little bit more about the Quran. And to do that, I'm going to pull up some images so that you can see it. Practical steps to memorizing the Quran. Now, what are those steps? Okay. Well, one of the things you can do is, just like in the image, it shows somebody going round and round in their mind and trying to memorize everything that they're looking at. But then when you get organized with it and you start looking at it like, what is actually in the Quran? And that's a good question, a very good question, because some people will tell us about things of the Quran like as though, well, they'll say Quran is science. It's got a lot of science in it. And that's not untrue, but that's not the point of the Quran. So others might say, well, we can show the miracles about the studies here, the miracle of the Quran and how it exists today, and there's no other thing like it. But that's, again, it's not the point of the Quran. What is the point? And again, I'll put this up and let you look at this. Just think for a minute. What goes into your mind? What? Yeah. Yeah. When the pieces of the puzzle come together in your head, then you start to realize that the Quran really is only from Allah. And who is he talking to? He's talking to you, all right? He's talking to all of us, but who particularly is he talking to? He could be talking to trees too. He could be talking to animals. He could be talking to the angels. He could be talking to himself. Who is he talking to? So that is why we have scholars, and then we can ask them, what does the Quran mean? Who is the Quran talking to? I want to know. I want to get an idea of what this is really all about and what's going on in my head and how does it go around and how do I understand it, all right? The Quran can be translated to other language, but it is no longer the Quran when it is, because Quran means the recitation. So whenever you recite it, it has to be in Arabic. When we say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that is in Arabic. Now I can try to give a translation and say, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, and people will accept it, but that is not 100% translation. So it's best to go to the Arabic. Let me give you an example from just what I just said, only from what I just said. We said Bismillah. Well, if I'm saying in the name of Allah, I would have to say Fismillah, because fi is in. Fismillah. Fi ism Allah. Fi ism is name, Allah. So how come it says Bismillah? It actually means with. So with the name of Allah. So why did your translators use in the name of Allah instead of with the name of Allah? Well, because in the English language, it was not understood that way. It was understood to be, I'm coming in the name of the King of the universe. Okay, well, that's not off, because that's what you're representing. That's what you're trying to say. Because when anybody comes with a message from the king or the emperor or the premier, then they come and they say, I am coming in the name of whoever. Okay? So this is not me talking here. I'm coming in the name of the king, and he orders the following, that you shall go to bed at 6 o'clock p.m. and not go out into your streets or do any, okay, so this is a decree, a royal decree in the name of the king. It's not me, it's the king. He said that, all right? Now, if I'm a reliable transmitter of this, then you could take that for granted. So that's why they brought this terminology in, to understand in the name of Allah instead of with the name of Allah. Okay, sister, did you already know about this?
I've heard bits of it, but I haven't heard the whole thing. I did not know about Fisme, for example. I knew that Bisme was not necessarily translated correctly, but I didn't know the specifics of it.
Well, there are a lot of folks that spend a lot of time with this subject that we're talking about now, trying to study, learn, and share. And this has been going on for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. Here's another image to look at and think about, because you can see that this person is sitting here studying a book by candlelight, and he has the hourglass next to him. And that's to give the idea that he's spending a lot of time, even at night, with the candlelight, learning and sharing. Not so much sharing, but that doesn't do that, but it's about memorizing, okay? There's another image that you can take a look at and get the idea. So what are the best memorization techniques available for us, okay? And memorization techniques that really work for college students, you might say, well, maybe that's not going to work for me. Yeah, and that could be. So what are 10 ways to help our students learn and memorize the Quran? Okay, first of all, I want to share with you something that this is accepted and promoted by a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, and scholars of different areas when they're talking about memorization. They said you have to get your mind clear of everything else before you begin. Now, sister, have you heard about that before?
Oh, yes. I heard about that quite a bit, my college professors.
Okay, so clear your mind. So what time of the day do you think that the most clear opportunity for your mind to ingest, take in new information? What would that be?
I'd say about 2 hours after I woke up.
Okay. Now, actually, you're not wrong about the waking up, but in tested, in laboratory tests, or not actual in a lab, but the findings they have, that when a person first wakes up, the very first thing that you can put into their mind is going to be something that can be accepted. And now, the second thing is to repeat that same exact thing just before they fall asleep. Just before you fall asleep, and then just when you wake up, the exact same thing. And you will be surprised at how effective that really is. Now, in music, when I taught music and studied music many, many years ago, let's see, it would be 65 years ago. Oh boy. Yeah, 65 years ago, they taught us this. First thing in the morning when you get up, start with the new material that you're going to learn. Start with it right away. Pick up your instrument or go to your instrument. If it's like a piano, you don't pick it up. And you go to it and you play whatever and listen to it and do the best you can. Then when you go to sleep at night, at least play what you can of that before you fall asleep. This routine helped me memorize not hundreds, but literally thousands of songs that I used in my everyday business that I was in when I was in the music industry. By the way, don't do music, guys. Stay far away from it. If you got time to listen to something, listen to the Quran. Listen to the quotations of Hadith, but stay away from the music. Take it from somebody that really knows. Stay far away from that. It is a big distraction. Have you heard about this, sister?
Yes, and that was one thing that after I converted to Islam, I was in a little bit of a quandary because I worked for a radio station doing classic rock and didn't have a choice but to listen to music because you have to monitor the station just as I monitor Guideus TV. And I tried to get out of it as quickly as I could.
Well, actually, that's all that Islam is asking us to do. That a person, even somebody drinking alcohol, is encouraged to stop it immediately because it's haram. But suppose somebody has been doing this for years and years, and they can't stop their job, they can't stop what they're doing in their life, to go to take a break, to go to one of these, what they call it, for to get over something like that.
AA meeting?
Yeah, like an AA meeting. But by the way, that's highly recommended. The AA meetings are excellent. One of the first things they tell you in AA is that you have to believe in a higher power, a source of everything. And for us, that's Allah. So that's not against us. That's for us in a way, for the believers. Anyway, so what does a person have to do? In Islam, the most important thing of all is to know what your mistakes are and try to get away from them as quickly as possible. That's all Allah is asking anybody. So if you're able to get away from the mistake, then that would be a sin on you if you didn't do it. If you're able to get away from it, then you didn't do that, then you would be held accountable for it. However, when it comes to this subject of I can't handle all of that at once, all right, see what you can handle and try your best to take care of the other things as you can. So in your case of being employed by a company that deals in music, it would be ridiculous for you to go to them and say, okay, I want to work here, but I don't want to do anything with music. They'd be like, okay, hit the door. And don't let the door hit you on the way out. But you get what I'm saying.
Oh, yes, I definitely get what you're saying.
So what I'm working toward here is to understand that as soon as somebody can get away from something, they should break off from it. But in some cases, it's not that easy to just cut it all off. And I had things that when I came into Islam that I had to cut off, and some of it was very hard to do. Some almost impossible things. But yet Allah made a way. I made up my mind, if I can, I will. And Allah accepted that and made a way for me to get away from all of these things that were happening. So, and it doesn't benefit anybody to say what this was or what that was or what something else is, that because you know what it is that you have to deal with every day. Now, maybe it's backbiting, talking about other people. That's a big haram in Islam, and you want to stop that as quick as you can. So if you start to say something about somebody, you're going to say, never mind. Stop. Don't finish that sentence. Yeah, just stop. And if you're going to drink alcohol, you pick it up, and now you got to say Bismillah before you do anything to take food in, right, or drink. So you say Bismillah, and you're looking at alcohol, and you say, how in the world did I say Bismillah? And I'll just pour that out. Now, whenever you see yourself pouring out alcohol, you're going to be like, whoa. Like cigarettes. I remember one of the people that I knew who wanted to quit smoking. And he tried. He said, I can't stop. I got this, I got that. So I asked him, when you buy your cigarettes, do you buy by the package or do you buy the cigarette? He said, oh, no, I buy the package. I said, why don't you next time buy a whole carton? He said, well, I'm trying to quit. I said, just buy a carton. And back then, that was $5. And I thought that was a lot of money, That's a long time ago. Anyway, he bought the carton of cigarettes. And I told him, okay, open it up. And he took out one of the packages of cigarettes. And I said, open it. He opened it up, and he took out a cigarette, and he was reaching for his lighter. I said, no. What I want you to do is just, crumble it. Yeah, crumble it up. And he did. And then I said, now just throw the rest of the carton in the trash. He said, whoa, man, that's $5. I said, throw it in the trash, the whole carton. And he did. And then we threw it out. We threw it in the trash. And I said, now, the next time you go, only buy the carton. And he said, I'm never going to do that again. I don't want to waste that money. And I said, and crumble up the first cigarette. He said, no, I see what you're saying. He was able to quit. I don't guarantee that's going to work for everybody, but it sure worked for him. And I knew his personality, and I figured that would work. There are a lot of things that we can do to make our mind adjust to what we're trying to do. Now, when it comes to this idea of memorization, we said that the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night, those are two very basic things to do. And when we come back from our break, I'm going to go to the next one. And sister, tell everybody what to do about when we go to a break.
Well, what you got to do is you got to stay tuned and stay guided with Guideus TV.
Rasul said that before the last day came, Islam would enter into every house, whether that house was built out of mud or on the skins of animals. And we know for sure that is coming true. There's a problem with it though. What message is going into every home is from the wrong people, with the wrong message, in the wrong way about Islam and Muslims. It's misrepresentation. So what we are trying to accomplish bi-idhni Allah, with Allah's aid and with your dua, is that this changes and we become the right people, giving the right message in the right way for the guidance of humanity. And this is why we have called it Guide US or Guide Us, doesn't matter which one, TV. Ihdina siratal mustaqim, mustaqim.
I think it's long overdue to have an Islamic channel here. We are in more desperate need of a channel like that to help the non-Muslims understand Islam.
The Muslims definitely need a TV channel in America, definitely. Who's speaking for us? Who's speaking for the Muslims?
What is missing in American media is the other side of the story. We only get one side, and we're often misleaded to think poorly of our fellow Muslims, and they tend to turn us against each other. What we need is the other side of the story and an objective point of view.
Muslims are in desperate need of our own media outlets. People having a field day describing what Islam is and who the Muslims are. Every time we turn on Fox News, they're telling us what is Islam all about. No, we need some authentic sources and voices out there.
There's so many people that don't know the truth about Islam, and it's because we see so much negativity online. If it wasn't for Yusuf Estes and for my neighbor showing me the truth of Islam, I would be lost.
Growing up in America, often the feeling we had was our story was never being told. And then after September 11th, not only was Islam being mentioned, but it was being mentioned in the negative light almost consistently. And the experts that were being brought, people who were most often not Muslim. By having a media, television station, television programming of our own, we take control of our narrative, we take control of our story, and then we can also invite people who are not Muslim to be able to come on board and say, here we are, talk about it, but talk about it on our terms.
So we have this huge gift of Islam to share with the American people. And without a media, we're just like that tree falling in the dark night in the forest and no one knows about it.
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
I'm Yusuf.
And we are back almost live once again with Sheikh Yusuf Estes. And today we are talking about things like memorization and how you can know that what you're memorizing is something that's the truth from Islam. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, Sheikh?
Absolutely. One of the things I'd like to do is talk about the part of the memory that how to improve it. Because all of us have memories, and at times we are able to remember things a lot better than other times. Usually when we feel pressure to somebody saying, tell me, that adds to the pressure that you already have in trying to remember something. Also, whenever you're in front of a lot of people, let's say like when I'm on a stage and we got 1,000 or 2,000 people sitting there, then obviously your mind is going to be distracted by how many people are looking at you and judging you and focused on what you're going to say. And a lot of times when people get up on the stage, they just black out. I remember the first time I was about 4 or 5 years old, And I was on the stage, and when the curtains opened, I just stood there and went, and the rest of the children were singing Christmas songs, and I was just standing there, oh. And when the curtains closed, they come out and got me because they said, what the heck happened to you, boy? I thought, oh, because I was shocked by how many people there were and that they were all looking at us. So that can happen. That can easily happen to anybody. Then there's other problems of speech. Whenever somebody has any kind of a speech impediment, or even a slur in their speech, or pronouncing the words incorrectly, or, simple things. It could be effective to the extent that you will forget what you were going to say. So these things are very real, and I wanted to deal with those one by one. Now, first thing is, let's look at, I want to mention this one, is about reading. It says read, read, read. Okay, when we come to the Quran, and this, the basic thing for all Muslims is to have the Quran. The Quran memorization is very, very important to every single Muslim, because the Prophet ﷺ told us that you will be raised up on the day of judgment according to how much Quran you memorized. So how much Quran do you really know? So you're going to go up, 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 up. And when you get to whatever you know of the Quran, that's where it's going to stop. Now, another thing that he told us, that anything that you forget in your life, you will not be held accountable for it, except one thing. If you memorize Quran and then don't take care of it, and you forget it because you didn't take care of it, then you will be asked about that. Every single letter, every single word, every single sentence of the Quran. You will be asked about that, because it is not a joke to memorize the words of Almighty God. The creator and sustainer of the universe has sent down something to us, and he expects us to treasure it, take care of it, and respect it. So that is very, very important to read. Now, as a lot of folks that are watching this right now, I know some of you are going to get upset. Maybe you're even going to turn off the TV. That's okay. It's okay. But I got to say it because it's the truth. A lot of people think that the first word revealed of the Quran was what? Sister, do you know?
Iqra.
Yeah, but what do they say it means in English?
Oh, they say it means read.
Ah, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to focus on. But does it really mean read? Because it's not wrong to say that. It is not wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the idea behind the word, when you translate it, could be read. It could be. But is it really from the Arabic language? No. Because Iqra, the I sound is an alif before qara'a. The alif means it's the imperative. Somebody's ordering you to do it. If you say jalsa, that is sitting. Ajlis is I'm ordering you to sit. Jalsa, ajlis. You see the difference? So I put ajlis. I put the alif in front of it. So I'm ordering you to do that. You follow that?
I follow.
Okay, so I want to go back now. Does it say read, read, read? Because that is the interpretation that people have when they say the story about the angel coming to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he was fasting in the month of Ramadan. And the angel comes to him and squeezes him close and releases him, and he says, Iqra. And the Prophet ﷺ, according to accepted, authorized hadith, he said, Ma ana bikari. And that, what does that mean? Because if you somebody's phone is reciting the adhan right now for us. Somebody's phone is reciting the adhan. Okay, well, I don't like to interrupt that. Okay, I'm going to have to put some video on here right now so I can take off and you got it? Okay. There we go. Alhamdulillah. Maybe it didn't bother you guys, but I was afraid that you could hear it. So I want to come back to this word, Iqra, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ma ana biqari. Now a qari is one who qira'as. A qari does what? He does Quran. Qari, Quran, qara'a, that's the root. So Iqra is from the same root. What does it mean? A recitation, what the Quran is the recitation. A qari is one who recites. So then qara'a, Iqra means what? I think you can give us that one now, sister.
Yes, it means recite.
There you go. So where did they get read from? All right. At the time that the first translation to English was occurring, it was in England, all right? And it was very well known at the time that when people had somebody to come and stand at a high tea, for instance, that would stand in front of the people and begin to read from memory. He would read from memory. He was reciting what he was, and that was called a reading. Have you heard about this, sister?
Yes, I have heard about this.
All right. So whenever we're saying that somebody is reading, we don't mean that they came to high tea with a book. They're reading from memory. So that is why they use the word read. It was also very popular at that time in the late 1800s when Lewis Carroll, is he the one that wrote the Alice in Wonderland or Through the Looking Glass? Then they changed the name to Alice in Wonderland, right?
Two books. Alice in Wonderland was the first, and Through the Looking Glass was the second.
Ah, I thought they changed the name of it. So the first one is Through the Looking Glass, and the second one is Alice in Wonderland.
Switch them.
Okay, the first one is Alice in Wonderland, and the next one was Through the Looking Glass. Got it. All right. So in the story of Alice in Wonderland, the very beginning of it, her caretaker is taking her for a walk or somewhere, and they sit down under a tree, and the girl, Alice, falls asleep. And the caretaker says, stand and read. And she gets up, and she doesn't know she's still sleeping, but she gets up and she starts reciting. And that is where they got the word from, this idea. That was common. That was something in use at the time when anybody was ordered to stand and read. They meant recite from memory. Does that make sense, sister?
Yes, it makes total sense.
So now we understand that that first word was not read. Although I'm telling you, read, 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 read. Yes, I want you to read and recite together. Yes. Because there are two things to consider this. Some people cannot hear, so they would need to read. Some people cannot see, they need to recite. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so we have that, and we also have that our own brain works in two ways, what we see and what we hear. So that's why it is important to have the physical book in front of you so you can read it. That's very important. Both meanings are applicable, but for sure the Arabic word is recite. And the Prophet ﷺ could neither read nor write. And some people said he said, Ana Ummi, but that is not the hadith. He did not say, I'm illiterate or I'm a dummy or something like that. He didn't say that. He said, Ma ana biqari. I am not a reciter. And why he was saying that is because at that time, now you keep in mind, this is 1440 years ago, all right? And at that time, people everywhere were memorizing things and reciting them, whether they could read or not. If somebody had something for sale, he would recite something about it. If he had, he sells wheels. I got deals on the wheels. I got deals on the wheels. Okay. He's making it rhyme and he's getting you to focus on what he has. And they do the same thing today in commercials on TV, you know, to get you to remember something. And this is a known, established fact that the Arabs were very prolific in that. And so when anybody would like for somebody to recite, they would ask somebody, Iqra, and in front of the Kaaba especially, and somebody would just, and this is before Islam, they would just recite something out about this great tribe or about this great person or something that happened in some battle. And they would do that, and they would recite beautifully. And they get somebody else to come and recite about this guy, recite about that lady over there, recite about this. And he would be very fluent, kind of like the rappers do today, you know? And so this is how it was understood. There's somebody ordering you to Iqra, and you say, look, I'm not one of those guys. I don't do that, all right? It didn't mean he wasn't able to do it. He was not a quote-unquote guy of the hour. He was not out here reciting stuff for entertainment and that kind of thing. But then the angel pressed him again, and he said, released him, and he said, Iqra. And he said again, Ma'ana bikari, I am not a reciter. And then the angel grabbed him again and pressed him close and released him, and he said, Iqra, bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaqa. Iqra wa rabbukal akram, alladhi alamu bil kalam, alamal insana ma lam yalam. Now, that is the first part of the Quran, the recitation. And that is so simple to do because it has a flow to it. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaqa. Look how it sounds, and it recites, and it's fun. And do that before you fall asleep at night. And then do it in the morning. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaqa. Iqra wa rabbukal akram, alladhi alamu bil kalam, alamal insana ma lam yalam. You can do it. You can do it. It's not that hard. But especially, listen to this, you get a reward for every harf. Every harf. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I don't mean that a harf is a word. Like alif, lam, mim is like a harf. No, he said alif is a harf. Alif, lam, mim. Alif is a harf, lam is a harf, and mim is a harf. In other words, every letter of the Quran, you're getting a reward for it. Iqra. I think you got 4 letters of the Arabic alphabet there. Wow. Yeah, that's not that hard.
And one thing that I always like to mention at this point, for people who are saying it's very hard for me, is that it is said that the person who struggles in their recitation will receive double the reward.
Well, that is very true. That is very true. So I would, at this time, I would like to take this opportunity to go to the next thing. When somebody understands what the words are, it's going to be real easy. So that is to understand as we go with what does this word mean. All right? So we will say, Iqra. It means recite. Bismi. It means with the name. Bismi. Got it, with the name. Now, and so as you go along, try to learn the meaning of these words. It will help you. It's not going to give you the whole entire meaning of everything, because some of the meanings are intended to make you think about something deeper. Yes. But for now, let's just focus on getting some of these words down. Another thing is, and this, maybe you'll do this first, maybe second, but be sure you write the letters down with English sound so that you can pronounce it quickly. Okay? I want you to learn the Arabic, the alif, ba, ta, and so on. Yes. But for the beginning of this, I need you to write it out. What do you hear? Don't accept it from me or anybody on the internet to tell you. What you hear is what you write. Okay? And if you hear alif, lam, mim, all right, alif, you write out the word you heard. Spell it in the way that you know that you can pronounce it again when you hear that or when you see it. All right? Meme. How do you spell meme? Some people spell it M-E-E-M. But some people will spell it M-I-M. And some people will spell it M-E-M-E. Meme. Is that true, sister?
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, because if I see M-E-M-E, I'm going to say me. But no, there's a meme that is representative of some kind of artwork now. Isn't that right?
Right. The funny jokes that you see with pictures on the internet, all the places, is called a meme, and it's M-E-M-E. And I called it me forever because I thought people were trying to get attention to themselves and going, me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Alhamdulillah. So, but to come back to the subject, I want everybody to write down the sound that you hear and write it out. Now, you're going to listen to that, and the next thing I probably should tell you is you can get a book that has the Quran in Arabic, and then it has it in a column. And then another column next to that is using English letters to make the sounds of what you heard. But then they're going to choose the way to do it. So if you're going to use a book like that, you better get used to the way they do it because it might not be the way you do it. All right? Then the third column will be a translation. Okay? And these books are quite expensive, and you can do that. Or another thing you can do is, let me see if I can pull this up for you real quick. I'm going to pull up our own website and put it out here for you to take a look at, because I feel like that if you have this, it will really help you with, okay, to save time, I'm just going to do it real quick like this, fit the screen. Yeah, there we go. And all right, this will help you, I think, and this is what I use. For instance, Al-Fatiha, that's the very first part of the Quran that we recite. It's only 7 verses, but those 7 verses comprise the very beginning of the prayer that we use 5 times a day. And all of this is found on Recite Quran. ReciteQuran.com, all right? That's where you can find this, and you'll be able to get a lot more out of this as you use this more and more and more. Let me see if I can bring it down. I wish that I had this ready for you. I thought about doing that, but then I got busy with some other things. Salat comes in right before we're supposed to be doing the show, so that's an excuse, right? Here we go. This is the Bismillah, all right? So you can look at that, but notice right under it. This is our website, Recite Quran, but notice right under it that it is giving you the words Now, this is our own translation of it, but I think that this is a good way to get started with it. Let me see if I can put that up where you can see it a little bit better. Now, we'll just focus on this. Bismi Allahi Rahmani. Okay, now if you notice what I was just saying, I said it according to stopping after each word. In Arabic, you continue with a sound. If you don't, then you pronounce it differently. Watch. Bismi Allahi Ar-Rahmani. But if you said, well, that's not what I heard. I hear people saying it, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. That's because we're connecting it. We're connecting the meme sound that has the little dash underneath it, a little round circle with a dash under it, that connects up to the word Allah, Bismillahir-Rahman. All right, so that's how, this is not to give you a course in Arabic. We do have a website for that. But right now, just showing you how you can use what you already know to help you to get started with the Quran. If you haven't started with the Quran, or if you started but didn't know where to go next, then this might help you. This I highly do recommend this opportunity, because many of us, many of us would love to be able to do the Quran, but we don't know where to start. And we're kind of ashamed or shy to get in front of a teacher because of our age, and that was my case. So then I made it so that we could see this and hear it at the same time. I'm going to adjust something right here so that you can see it a little bit better. Oh yeah. Now, here's Fatiha. Now, what we can do is click. If you see the little arrow toward right underneath the number 1, there's a number 1 up here, and there's an arrow right underneath that. Click that and listen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Click it again and it will stop. If you let it go, it will give you the translation, which is highlighted in yellow.
In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
And again, we can stop if we want to, and then we even play it again if you want to, or go on with the translation.
All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the world. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. The entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin. Sovereign of the day of recompense. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. It is you we worship, and you we ask for help. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. The path of those upon whom you have bestowed favor, not of those who have evoked your anger or of those who are astray.
Okay, that sure wraps it up for today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Stay guided with Guideus TV.
Rasul said that before the last day came, Islam would enter into every house.
Here are some ways to get Guideus TV. Via satellite on Galaxy 19 FTA. At this satellite frequency, transponder rate 5, frequency 11836 MHz, polarity